the Indian generation of present senior citizens, particularly those in Odisha, grew up listening to stories from their grandparents. I remember two stories related to Maha. I will tell first one story, then I will discuss about the second story. Why Maha is celebrated? The story that comes to my mind is uh, what my grandfather told me when I was a child. It is during the Samudra Manthan or churning of the sea when Basuki, the serpent, vomited poison. There was chaos, and everybody thought that it is going to destroy the universe. Therefore, all prayed Lord Shiva to rescue. Lord Shiva consumed that poison, but being the yogi, being a master of yoga, he was able to hold that poison at his throat. So it never went below his throat. But the effect of poison was so furious that he fell unconscious. Because of that, everybody tried to bring him to consciousness. So they started praying, they started to remain without sleeping, without doing anything, without doing any other work. They observed fast and started praying to Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva came back to his consciousness, or for information to everybody, a candle which is called Mahadeepa was lighted. So this is the story basically. Because of to remember that we observe Mahashivaratri. This is one story. There is another story. We'll come to that story, and today's discussion is about the second story related to Mahashivaratri. This is a picture or drawn by an artist in Indonesia, Indonesian artist. And this picture tells a story of a hunter who is on a tree. Below the tree, there is a tiger looking at the hunter, and the hunter is worshipping Shiva without knowing that he is worshipping. Next. This story is depicted in folk dances of Indonesia during the Shivaratri. Even today, although the country Indonesia is a Muslim country, it is mostly populated by Muslims. Perhaps the highest Muslim population is in Indonesia, but as a tradition for centuries, their folk dances depict the story of a hunter on a tree followed by a tiger. This is also available in their scriptures, the in the Indonesian language or Javan language, which is called Kakawini Siwaratri Korpo. So the scripture mentions the story, and the story is depicted as a drama, and this is available in ancient Indonesian scripture. So we started from south. In Indonesia also we can find Shivalingas and places of worship for Shiva, which are nowadays in a depleted condition, but these are available. Hopefully, Indonesia was a Saivist culture in the past. Maybe it has gone during the Rajaraja Chola when his kingdom was extending up to Indonesia and beyond. So maybe that is the cause. But Indonesia had a Hindu or Saivist culture. It shows that Indonesia had a Hindu Saivist culture. Okay, then, if we come towards north from Indonesia, then we'll find out a change in the story. Why the change occurs? Let me give an example. In Persian, this word Khayarsa, Khayarsa means the king of king. This means in Persian. And based on this, there is a movie nowadays, a very popular movie, which is called 300. And in that, the king is called Xerxes. Xerxes is the king of Greek. This Greek word has come from the Persian word Khesru. So Xerxes is in Greek is the original word is Khesru. Now instead of going to west, if you come to east, then in Hindi and Urdu, this Khesru is also called Sehensa, which also means king of kings. Now, what is the original word from which this Khesra has come? So that root lies in Sanskrit. Kshatriyasya Kshatriya. So king among kings, which is Kshatriyasya Kshatriya. Therefore, the root is in India, in Sanskrit language. From this, what we come to know is that throughout the world, the cultural aspects of India has moved and it has got different names, different stories associated with it, but the soul or the main philosophy behind that remains same. With this in mind, let us come to north. From Indonesia, we come northward. If we come northward in Andhra Pradesh, there is a village called Bagreswaram village, and there is a temple in that village which is called Bagreswaram temple. In this temple, on the walls of the temple, there are writings about the story of a Brahmin boy who was hunted by tiger and he climbed onto a tree and unknowingly prayed Lord Shiva. And he escaped because it says that at that place at Bagreswaram, this incident occurred. Therefore, this place is called Bagreswaram, this village is called Bagreswaram, and the temple is called Bagreswaram Temple. Now, this is exactly same as the story of the Indonesia, but with a variation that in the Indonesian story there is a hunter. Here, the hunter is replaced by a Brahmin. Otherwise, the stories are same. Next. Now, what is the origin? If we try to find out what is the origin of these stories, the origin lies in ancient Indian Puranas, in ancient Indian epics like Skanda Purana. If you look at the Skanda Purana, in the Kedarakanda, which is in chapter 33, 33rd chapter of Skanda Purana, on the Kedarakanda, the Rishi asks, what is the story of hunter who performed the Shivaratri sacred rituals? And the next shloka gives is the answer, the hunter, which is the Nisada. So instead of the name, that is given in Indonesian script, which is Lubdak. So here it is called Nisa. The hunter sat on a branch of wood apple tree, which is Bilwa tree or the Srivukya, and because the hunter was in a state of anger and frustration, being chased by a tiger and being uh, completely uh, without food, without water, and without finding any hunting. So he was in say, state of anger and frustration and impulsively and to escape from the tiger. If he sleeps on the tree, he may fall down and the tiger may eat him. So he was to stay uh, in a awake. He was plucking willow leaves and throwing them. So below that tree, there was a Shivalinga. He didn't know. The hunter didn't know that there is a Shivalinga, but he was plucking willow trees and throwing them downward. Unknowingly, these were dropping on the Shivalinga at the base of the willow tree. And when the hunter, on the morning, hunter came back to his house without knowing that he has performed this. But that day, the day on which the hunter had this uh, episode that he went to the jungle or went to the forest in the morning without taking any food. In the forest, he went deep inside the forest to in search of any animal for hunting. He could not find any. He was hungry. Then, while he was returning in the evening, he found that he is being followed by a tiger. So he climbed a tree. Fortunately or unfortunately, that was a willow tree, and because of the fear of the tiger, which was below that tree, he remained awake whole night in the tree, and out of anger, state of anger and frustration, he was plucking willow leaves and throwing them down. So without knowing that, by that he is throwing willow leaves onto on the Shivalinga. So he performed this on the Mahasivaratri one day only. In his life, he has done this only one day. Then, when his last time came, then he got moksha because of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva's people came to him and they too came to the Shivara. He got moksha because of this performance. That is why we perform Mahasivaratri being uh, awake whole night and without taking any food or water whole day. That is how one should perform Shivaratri. This is the story, and this story is available in Skanda Purana. This is one extra example. Other examples are and this is in Padma Purana also. In Mahabharata, the name is not Lubdaka, but it is Chitravan. In the Santi Parva, Bhishma tells this story to Yudhishthira about this. So this is the source. From this is the source. These are the source from which this story has moved around. This has gone to Indonesia. This is followed in Andhra Pradesh, etc. So this is the story. Story of a man followed by a tiger. To escape the tiger, man is going onto a tree, and from there he is worshipping Shiva unknowingly. Okay, next. Now, let us try to see whether this story is as old as Mahabharata or Ramayana, or it is more older than that. We don't know. Actually, there is no answer to that. Actually, we cannot definitely say if it is older or it is up to Mahabharata. Now look at these scriptures. Two scriptures, you can see there are some writings there which we cannot decipher. These are the writings from the seals, or these are the seals on which there are writings which we cannot decipher. These seals are from Sindhu Saraswati civilization, but the Western historians call it Indus civilization. Anyway, in this Indus Saraswati civilization, these writings we cannot decipher. Why we cannot decipher it? Next. There are other writings like Rosetta Stone. So it is a stone plate on which we have Egyptian Sign Language at the top. Then that is translated to Egyptian script language in the middle. Then that is translated to Greek language at the bottom. So this is available for deciphering. This it is available, but for Sindhu Saraswati civilization, this is not available. So we cannot definitely say that our culture is continuing from Sindhu Saraswati civilization. But pause a minute. Next. Look at this. These are also excavated from Sindhu Saraswati civilization. And if you look at these, immediately you can say these poses are of the poses of Namaskar. So Namaskar, we can safely say, is continuing from Sindhu Saraswati civilization till today in India. Next. Now let us look at other things. So now we'll look at the human tiger motifs that were discovered at Sindhu Saraswati civilization. For that, if you want, you can go to this website harappa.com. So if you go to harappa.com, you will find out many figures of human tiger motifs. Next. So this is one of those figures. So if you look at this figure, in this figure there is a tiger below a tree, and on the tree there is a human, and just above the tiger, head of the tiger, you can see there is some sort of a swastik sign. So this swastik sign is also a continuation. Next. This is again the same tiger. This is from another place. Same in Sindhu Saraswati bed, but this is from another place. Same tiger, human on the tree. Next. This is from another place. Tiger, human on the tree. Next. Now this is interesting. You have this tiger, human on the tree, but where on the side of the tiger, towards the right side, if you closely look, you will find a person or somebody in the yogic mudra, and or maybe it is a divine person. Maybe or may not be, but somebody in the yogic mudra is there. Next. That yogic mudra is very similar to this one, which is called the person is in the Bhadrasana. Okay, next. Now, the same yogic mudra is there, but before the yogic mudra, there is, you can see there is a sacrifice of an animal. Now, what is this? What does this describe? This yogic mudra, what does this yogic mudra describe? What is it? So, the researchers, particularly British researcher, next. The British researchers have research on this Mohenjo-daro and Harappa seals that have been found out. John Marshall was an anthropologist, and he, after his research, he says that this describes the Pashupatinath. The Pashupatinath that we find in Nepal, his position is this. This is the conclusion of John Marshall, a very renowned British researcher of the last century. Next. Now, what other research have been done on Sindhu Saraswati civilization? Next. So, in the Sindhu Saraswati civilization, as I told, these seals have been excavated, and based on these seals, there has been a research paper. People have done research. One of the prominent researcher is Gregory Posel. So Gregory Posel in his paper Indus Folklore an unknown story on some Harappan objects. He doing some research. He has given some conclusion. The conclusion is also if you look at harappa.com, there you can see it is written the human and tiger scene. He writes, Apostle writes, is a dynamic moment, suggesting that we have here a narrative of Indus folklore. Particularly, it is describing a Indus folklore. It occurs with sufficient regularity. Why he says it is Indus folklore? Because it is occurring regularly. It occurs with sufficient regularity, which means many of these excavated seals show this human, tiger, and tree. So that indicates a in the folklore. So from his research, the conclusions. Let us look at what conclusions he has done. He has found out 18 examples where this man, tiger, and tree is there. Next. And he says a swastik and the human tiger that you can see on the bottom right hand side, the tiger above the head of the tiger, the swastik sign is there. So the swastik sign is also a continuation from those age, and human tiger is there. Since swastik is today revered as a divine adoration, so he says that it can be a divine adoration, and the tree can be a people tree. Also, he has written two books based on his research, and he says we still do not know the story told on the human and tiger glyptics or what it meant to the Harappan people, that we do not know. If I may speculate, I means Poshel. If I may speculate, it seems to be about a person in the forest who is in a tree, possibly to avoid a tiger passing by, rather than being mauled and eaten by this beast, and the human reaches an accommodation with it, and they end up friends. This is what he thinks about the story. So it might be uh, a part of some longer story, or it can be an individual story. That is his conclusion. Next. Now, look at these two figures. The left hand side is the man on the tree, maybe to escape the tiger. So, man is afraid of the tiger. On the right hand side, you can see the man. There is a man who is fighting with two tigers at a time. So, he is not afraid of the tiger. So we cannot say from the left side that the scene, conclusively, we cannot say that this is depicting the story of Lubdaka or the Shivaratri as because from, earlier we have seen the man, tree, and Pasupatinath. In one seal, we have seen man, tree, tiger, and Pasupatinath, uh, indicating divinity. So, indicating the story of Shivaratri or Lubdaka. But the right hand side shows man can find tigers. But the right hand side seal is rare, one or two seals like this. But the left hand side seal, this is available in plenty from the Harappa site. Therefore, there is a continuity, or it indicates that there is a folklore which has been continuing in the Harappa civilization or Sindhu Saraswati civilization, about which we are not aware. But maybe you can say that this story is same as the Shivaratri story of Lubdaka. Or this may not be the story, may be the story. I do not make any conclusion on that, or I do not say anything about that. But next. I say that we have sufficient evidence, scriptural evidence in Mahabharata, Skanda Purana, Padma Purana, and Shiva Purana, and many others about the man, tiger, and the tree story. Then we have archaeological evidence in human tree tiger seals of Harappa, Pasupatinath seal and in Harappa. So from that we get archaeological evidence about the story related two Mahashivaratri. Next. Then we have cultural evidence both in Shivaratri Kalpa in Bali and Vagyeswaram temple. So from this, we have to draw our own conclusion through proper research. So, if there are people from history who are listening to this, or people from anthropology who are listening to this, I will request them to continue research or do some research and come out with concrete evidence on whether there is a continuity of Sindhu Saraswati civilization in India, because of which we are now observing Mahashivaratri. With that, I thank you for your patience and for being with me today on Shivaratri. Om Namah Shivaya. If you have questions, you can write your questions. I will be happy to answer. So thank you.